The question is, how did you improve your accuracy when you first started pitching? Or, it's common. I get a lot of questions about like command and stuff, and I hate to be this guy, but it is really as simple as just increase your repetitions. And I know this is getting into a super gray area with where we're at within the development industry in baseball today with like the brake pedal approach, don't throw too much, all these things. Like I understand that, but when it comes to like improving your accuracy, command in general, the increase of repetitions, right, like on the mound is going to give you a ton of information, like a ton of personal information for you to start to identify without even like, obviously if you're like 12, you're not going to be super like mindful and attentive and intentional with a lot of these things. You're just going to go out and kind of just see, like I'm not throwing the ball where I want. So more oftentimes than not, the increase of reps is going to just give someone a pretty good amount of information pertaining to where their misses usually are. What do they kind of have to do to then not miss? How much is their mind involved? How much is there a lack of focus and all of these kind of different things? Even the physical side of it as well. What do I need to think about mechanically? Where's my hand separation at? Is my head pulling off? All these kind of, this is very simple, basic mechanical cues, I think start to just get developed as somebody just increases the repetition. Now, what happens is if you're a younger kid, you don't like to be embarrassed. So if someone goes out onto a mound or someone goes into a game to pitch and they don't do well, they don't throw a lot of strikes or whatever it is, like they don't want to put themselves in that position again. So they just shy away from it and then they don't do it as much. And it takes a special individual to be like, oh, wow, I failed at this. Like now I want to go out and do it again. Right. So if you're a parent watching, I would just say like encourage your kid, or a coach watching, encourage the kid like to just keep going out and keep failing, because I think with failure comes information, and with information comes a better opportunity and process to get better at that and not to fail again. So for me, I grew up not like having the best command. Like I was a thrower, right? Like my dad was a catcher. I kind of just caught and hit and whatever. And then it was like, I think right around the age of like 9, 10, I started to pitch, and I wasn't like super good at it, but I just kept things simple and just like kind of slowly but surely learned very simple things that I needed to maybe think about or do that helped. My problem was always like my lack of focus. My mind was like always kind of just wherever. And my cue, honestly, I still remember this as a younger kid, little league kid, was like just to overemphasize focus, but another portion of this, and I talked about this a lot too, is the command to like in game. Put yourself in game repetitions more. Put yourself in atmospheres that are as uncomfortable as a game presents. And I think that's a huge piece to command, because you'll see like when the kids are relaxed and they're loose and nothing is really on the line, is they're great. Like things are great, right? Command is great. I can attest to this. I've been one of those guys as well. And then they get into a game and things just change, right? Things speed up, things change. And that's when things become apparent that the command is off, or it's not as good. Breaking pitch is not as good, whatever the case may be. So put yourself into uncomfortable positions more often and get your brain, get your body used to that. So then when you do get out there again, it's just like, okay, I've been doing this for a while now. Like it's not as uncomfortable as it once was, right? Because the more you do things and the more you're willing to put yourself at risk of failure or whatever, the better you get at it. And that's a huge piece to accuracy, to command as well. Even for young kids, like I grew up pitching, or how do I word this? I grew up like just competing. And even though I said like I wasn't a pitcher, it was just like everyone played every position. So when we grew up, we would go to like the Sandlot, the local like little park, and we would just kind of play all day long. And there was never just like, hey, I'm going to throw a bullpen today, or hey, I'm going to take BP. It was like, hey, if you want to go play baseball, like, all right, you're pitching this much until you can't go anymore. Like this guy's then coming in facing this guy, and we just would frickin' go. You increase the game repetitions, and then everything kind of becomes just that much more comfortable. And when the atmosphere and the environment is comfortable, I think you get the best out of yourself. So find a way to do that.